They sealed me. They covered my body with stone. They built tombs in front of me, as if they could bury a promise. For centuries, no one has passed through here. No king, no priest. The city forgot me, but heaven didn't, because I hold a secret, something no empire could erase. I witnessed a glorious entrance, and I know it will happen again. But next time, there will be no warning. The question is, when he returns, will you be on the right side of the gate? I am the eastern gate of Jerusalem, but I am not just a structure of stone and lime. I am a living memory of a people's hope and of kings' fear. For centuries I stood open, facing the sunrise, witnessing generations walking toward the temple, carrying their prayers, their sins, their songs, and their tears. I saw kings enter through me with pomp and sacrifice, felt the dust of prophets' feet, heard the songs of the Levites, and sensed the trembling steps of the people during Passover. I was more than an entrance. I was a symbol of expectation. But then, a centuries-old fear sealed my soul of stone God in the 16th century. When Suleiman the Magnificent ruled Jerusalem under the Ottoman Empire, he heard whispers of an ancient prophecy. The Jews spoke of a Messiah who would enter through me, not through any other gate, but through me. In a desperate attempt to prevent the divine plan from unfolding, Suleiman ordered me bricked shut. He commanded workers to pile stones and seal my openings with cement and silence. He believed he could quiet heaven with bricks, that he could hide from God the very road his anointed one would take. But who can stop the breath of the eternal? Who can build walls strong enough to block the wind of a promise? His effort to seal a prophecy's fulfillment became its most powerful confirmation. And as if a wall weren't enough, a cemetery was built in front of me, a field of death to intimidate the author of life. Suleiman knew that Jewish priests would not come near graves and thought, if the Messiah is a son of Aaron or David, he will never pass through death. But what he didn't understand is that the Messiah does not fear death, he conquered it. He walked among the tombs, called Lazarus forth, and rose again on the third day. What was meant as an obstacle became a testimony. A death before me only confirms that when he comes, he will bring life even to the most silent places. My stone soul is not waiting for destruction, but for a heavenly reopening. And if you think that's only symbolic or distant, wait until you hear what they found beneath me, God, after being sealed by order of an empire that had no idea what God had already ordained. I became an open wound in the heart of the holy city. Sealing me wasn't enough. They needed to silence me. And as if stones were insufficient, men surrounded me with tombs and legends. A cemetery was constructed right in front of me, as if death could block the arrival of life. For centuries, those graves lay there not for mourning, but for intimidation, to paralyze hope, to convince the weak that the promise was just poetry. But all of it all, that fear and theater, only served to reinforce what Scripture had already declared with precision. My sealed condition was not a failure of faith. It was the fulfillment of an eternal word. The prophet Ezekiel saw my story long before it happened and wrote in Ezekiel 44:2, "This gate shall be shut. It shall not be opened, and no one shall enter by it, because the Lord, the God of Israel, has entered by it. Therefore it shall be shut." These words weren't written after the gate was sealed, but centuries before. The human attempt to block the Messiah only confirmed, ironically, that God had seen it all ahead of time. They tried to silence me, but in doing so, they turned me into a heavenly megaphone. The silence of my stone mouth echoes through the pages of Scripture. The more they buried me in fear, the more the hope bloomed that heaven had not forgotten its path to Jerusalem. And what many call coincidence, I call the foundation of divine strategy. How can a sealed gate become an altar of hope? How can physical blockage turn into a spiritual invitation? The answer lies in the nature of God. He turns tombs into beginnings, closed doors into open promises. While men told myths to keep me sealed, heaven recorded my weight as part of the grand story of redemption. And maybe you, hearing this, realize that your life feels like mine, surrounded by struggles, closed from the inside, disbelieved by others. But the seal is not the end. It is the sign that something sacred happened, and that something glorious is about to happen. And if you think my position is random, Just wait until you see what surrounds me. If you could see from the heavens, from the same height the angels watch from, you'd realize that my position is no accident. I, the Eastern Gate, am not where I am because of architectural convenience or ancient engineering plans. I am perfectly aligned with the Mount of Olives in front of me and the former location of the temple behind me. This alignment is not just geographical, it is prophetic. It's as if every stone was placed by invisible hands, guided by an eternal plan. Between me and the Mount of Olives lies the Kidron Valley, and through this valley, the glory of the Lord will one day pass when he returns. Every morning when the sun rises over the mountain, its first light touches me, as if heaven is whispering, "This is still the way." Zechariah 14:4 says, "On that day his feet shall stand on the Mount of Olives that lies before Jerusalem." On the east, that is where he ascended to heaven, as recorded in Acts 1:11-12. This same Jesus, who was taken up from you into heaven, will come in the same way as you saw him go into heaven. And Matthew 24:27 declares, "For as lightning comes from the east and shines as far as the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man." Do you see the connection? This is not just about symbolic return, but a literal route, the same place, the same Messiah, the same glory. Every prophecy is a line on a map pointing straight to me, and each one still awaits its final fulfillment. If everything is already so clearly positioned, then why do we still doubt? The ground has been chosen, heaven has spoken, and Scripture is marked like signs on a divine highway. When you see all of this, the prophet's words, the apostles' witness, the city's geography, you realize that this is not blind faith. It's a faith with coordinates, with anchors, with proof. And maybe the reason you're hearing this right now is because God doesn't just want to align mountains and gates. He wants to align your heart too. Because the real gate that must be positioned isn't made of stone, it's made of flesh. And that's why we need to go deeper, because the hardest gate to open is the one inside us. You might be wondering, why does all of this matter? Why talk about ancient stones and prophetic roots? The answer is simple and clear. Because I, the Eastern Gate, am not just a physical structure. I am the mirror of something much deeper. I am the external image of a gate that exists within each of you. Just as I was sealed by fear and human attempts to control the divine, many hearts are also shut not by stones, but by disappointments, pride, trauma, sin, and self-protection. You look at me as a distant monument, but the truth is, my story is yours. I was sealed to prevent a glorious entrance. How many of you have done the same with your own hearts? And Jesus knew this. He looked at closed hearts the same way he looked at cities that rejected him, with compassion. The truth is, as long as the gate of your heart is shut, every promise will seem distant, every hope will feel unrealistic, every faith will become heavy. But when you open even in fear, even through tears, everything changes. The entrance of the King doesn't just bring presence, it brings transformation. You may have built walls to protect yourself. You may have let bitterness build a cemetery in front of your soul. But there is someone still standing on the other side, knocking, waiting for you to trust again. And if you've come this far, maybe just maybe this is your moment. But before you decide whether to open or not, let me tell you what they found, buried beneath me. For centuries, people thought I was all there was, one sealed gate, immovable, blocked forever. But in 1969, archaeological excavations around me revealed something astonishing. Buried beneath my foundations was a second, older gate, built with stones from the time of the Second Temple. This gate, hidden under layers of earth, history, and forgetfulness, was likely the very one Jesus passed through during his triumphal entry into Jerusalem, the moment you now call Palm Sunday. When the crowd shouted, "Hosanna to the Son of David," his feet touched the ground before that ancient gate. And even though they didn't realize it, they were opening the way for a prophecy that had not yet finished its course. What archaeologists unearthed with brushes and trowels, heaven had already revealed through promises. And blood. Think about it. Two gates. One visible and sealed, one hidden and sacred. One marked the first coming, the other awaits the second. One was silenced by man, the other preserved by God. This is no coincidence. This is divine design. The Messiah came once to save, and he will come again to reign. And while men built walls out of fear of what was to come, heaven preserved beneath the ground a living memory that the story isn't over. What is hidden from human eyes remains fully exposed before God. This discovery isn't just archaeology. It's embodied theology, a literal sign that God never forgets the path back to fulfill his promises. And if that's true in the soil of Jerusalem, imagine what he still remembers about you. You may have parts of your life buried, forgotten, covered by old wounds, dreams, callings, or seasons that seem sealed forever. But God sees beyond the surface. He knows what's hidden. He doesn't need easy access to move. Like that buried gate, your story can still be uncovered. There is still a guarded entry. There is still a living promise waiting for the right moment. The climax of this story isn't the closing, it's the preparation. Because the same one who entered once is coming again. And when that happens, not even the most sealed gate on earth will remain shut. And if you think this is the peak, you still haven't seen the ending. Because now, it's time for the King to return. When he returns, it won't be like the first time. He won't come riding a humble donkey, surrounded by palm branches and whispers of hope. He will return in glory, with fire in his eyes, crowned with authority that cannot be challenged. Revelation 19:11-12 says, "Then I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse. The one sitting on it is called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he judges and makes war. His eyes are like a flame of fire, and on his head are many crowns. He will come as the King who has never lost a battle. And on that day, the eastern gate will be ready, because despite the human seals, I've been preserved for this exact moment, to rise and open again at the command of heaven. Heaven doesn't need keys, just one word, and I will open for the one who is worthy." Psalm 24 thunders like a voice from eternity. "Lift up your heads, O gates, and be lifted up, O ancient doors, that the King of glory may come in." Who is this King of glory? The Lord, strong and mighty, the Lord, mighty in battle. When those words are released again, and they will be, no barrier will stand, no wall will remain, no human scheme will resist. I, who stood silent for centuries, will cry out with my opening. He has returned. Nations will see, mountains will bow, and all will know that the gate so many considered useless, forgotten, or symbolic was actually the stage for a reunion between glory and dust, between eternity and time, between heaven and Jerusalem. And you, will you be ready? Because the true gate that must be opened isn't made of limestone or iron, it's your heart. The King won't come only to Jerusalem. He wants to enter your soul too, but he doesn't force his way in. He knocks and waits, because the King of glory doesn't just desire a city, he desires you. And if you're still listening to this story, it's not a coincidence. There's a call echoing inside you, a call to open, to let him in, to not wait until the day it's too late. The gate of heaven will open, and if yours remains closed, you may be left outside. But today, there is still time. And now, I want to offer you an invitation. If this story spoke to you, if any part of it echoed like a whisper inside your chest, then pause for a moment, breathe, and listen. Because maybe what needs to happen now isn't on the outside, but inside you. The eastern gate waits for the return of the King, but the King is already at the door of your heart. And he still says, "Behold, I stand at the door and knock." So if this touched you in any way, write in the comments, "The gates of my heart are open to the King of glory." It's not just a phrase, it's a gesture, a spiritual step. Your first act toward living the life God prepared for you before the end, before it's too late, before the gate closes. If you felt this call, don't ignore it. And if you want to go further, to take your next step, we've prepared something for you. In the pinned comment below this video, there's a special gift, the devotional, Your 30 Steps from God. 30 days to reconnect your heart to the Father. 30 steps, one per day, each with a story, a pain, a redemption. Because maybe what you need right now is just to begin. You don't have to be ready, just willing. Click Download, read, let God rebuild. Day by day, the gate inside your soul. And if you want to understand what can happen when we ignore this call, then don't miss the next video. It's appearing on your screen now. The title is, I Am Your Near Future Self. We thought there was time to choose, and it's a warning. A message from tomorrow for those who still have today. Watch it until the end, because maybe you still think there's time, but the gate won't stay open forever.